people who have been victims.
I've managed to get all the sponsors together, and they purchased this hand cycle. And it's all logoed up. It's a phenomenal cross-country hand cycle. It's custom made for myself. And I'll be touring the UK and visiting various schools throughout the United Kingdom, talking to primary schools, talking to after-school clubs, talking to universities about sport, health and well-being, disability awareness, as well as hate crime. And then obviously on my way to Land's End, plus I'm also being invited to the TT circuit in the Isle of Man, so I'll be training and having to go to the TT circuit, plus speaking to children in the Isle of Man as well, which is a fantastic one. In August 2008, I went to bed perfectly fit and healthy, no symptoms. I was a personal trainer, sports therapist, I had my practice, so very fit and healthy. And just went to bed and woke up sort of 3 days later and woke up to find myself rushed to hospital. And this was all to do with a brain tumour. You go through a mourning process, and I think you have to for you to go forward in life, especially when something's happened to you, something tragic has happened to you. 84% of people with disabilities were born that way. They acquired that disability within their working life. I was newly, in a wheelchair for 3-4 months. I came home from hospital in January 2009, and I had to build the courage just to get out. And I went to my local smoke shop in the corner, and some idiots driving past called me cripple. And being so raw, obviously, so even on a big chat, I was still very, very ill, and just people calling, saying his name, his horrible names. I think it was 4 months before I left the house. And so it's happened to myself throughout, being a person with a disability. You go through the anger, frustration, why me, self-pity, loathing, depression, all of these things. And, it was sport that really gave me the focus to continue a life, a different life. Being a physical person anyway in my profession as a sports therapist and personal trainer, and also as well always competing in sport in some way, shape or form. It was something I had to do. I think for me, battling what I have to battle, because my tumour is still there, and it still bleeds into the brain, so I still have small haemorrhages, so that causes a tremendous amount of pain. And it's easy to give up, but sport has given me means of life. It's about awareness. It's about going the extra mile for sport, for disability. Just getting kids involved and passionate about, getting outside and doing something. The hand cycles here will be hand cycling over 1,000 miles over the next 6 months. Today is about promotion. We have the police here, Cheshire Police are here, security marking, bicycles, lots of information regarding what is a hate crime, the effects it has on its victims, but also as well what we can do to actually stop hate crime. So what we do today is we're here to launch my hand cycle campaign. It's about promotion of reporting hate crime and talking to children about the effects it has on its victims and stigma, bullying, things like this. Also as well as about disability awareness, going the extra mile to be positive role models. We tour in the UK and then we go to the Alabama and tour in the TT circuit and go on that as well. So it's all built, one of a kind, built for myself to do this tour. What do you think of it? It's really cool, isn't it? You know, what do you like about it the most? Yeah, the tyres are great, aren't they? So would you like to sit and have a go? Yeah. Hop on, just put your leg across. Okay, sit down. Now what you're going to do, Zach, is you're going to hold it handles right here. There you go. Now you're going to push forwards. There you go, that's my word. So so what you're going to do is pushing forwards and using your arms, using your chest. Oh, there you go, good job. I think that's right, you turn your turn. So you can only turn as far as your legs go. So it helps not to feel your legs. Well, we must have 4 charities, and that's all since becoming a graduate athlete. So we're also going towards Foundation, Brainwave, Warrington Disability Partnership, as well as Stop Hate UK. It's very, very personal to me as regards to the charities. I've coached over 3,000 children with those charities, promoting sports, health and well-being. But hate crime is where, you know, my heart really lies. I think it's for me to try and educate. Visiting over 500 schools, speaking to thousands and thousands of children regarding disability awareness, regarding sports, health and well-being, going the extra mile to be positive role models, and as well as talking about hate crime and the effects it has on its victims. So that for me is the main point there. I've done so much already. I think for me it's just something else. You know, I think competing in the country, winning gold medals is a phenomenal achievement. Carrying the torch of the Paralympic Lantern. I don't think it's past that, but this for me is a more personal experience because of being a victim myself. But I think also as well, we need to get people out there who can be positive role models for children and to talk to them and to encourage them for them to be positive role models themselves. So for me, you know, I think the whole experience of education and teaching children to be the best that they can be, no matter what life throws at them. My journey is a fantastic one. It started off at 4 weeks, now it's turned into 6 months. It's absolutely been very, very overwhelming, and it's absolutely fantastic to see so many people wanting to get involved. It starts in the northwest, first of all, in my hometown, Warrington, Cheshire, in the northwest, where we visit schools and colleges throughout the northwest. There's no doubt that we go to Land's End, and that's just one of the places where we're focusing on. Obviously, touring the UK, it's over 1,000 miles, that's how I'll be hand cycling. Plus, as well, going to the Isle of Man, I've been asked to try out with the hand cycle on a TT course on the circuit, so there's another 38 miles, plus visit schools in the Isle of Man as well. So, you know, Land's End is just one of the places where I'll be going to. It's going to happen, and that's how you've got to see it as a professional athlete. You know, we don't have doubt in our mind. We do something, we do it at 150 miles an hour. So I'm very, very confident.
So there we go, and that was a year ago. And I look back on this and go, my goodness, you know, it's what has happened in that year has absolutely been amazing. Sorry, as a person who not only has won gold medals, but also, you know, wants to inspire our future leaders of this country, our future generations. And I thought, right, okay, I'm going to, first of all, talk about something very personal, which is bullying, stigma, and hate crime. It is very, very personal to myself, and I'm going to talk about that in a little second. And, but I thought, well, what can I do? Well, I'm going to promote sports. You know, I'm an athlete, I'm going to promote getting outside, you know, getting the kids off the PlayStations, off the Xboxes, whatever it is, off the phones, get outside and do the sport, no matter what it is. It could be rowing, skipping, jumping, it doesn't matter, just get outside. So I spoke to my sponsors and I said, right, I need £25,000 and I'm going to purchase a hand cycle. And he went, yeah, Adrian, legal is a check. And I thought, I should ask for 50, because that was way too easy. I didn't bring a hand cycle today because it's, I was reversed into a couple of days ago, and so the frame is bent a little bit. But that's just what happens on the road. But yeah, you know, looking back at this, you know, I was hand cycling half marathons a day. Well, I actually hand cycle a marathon a day. 5 a.m. every morning, I hand cycle a marathon. Every morning. Rain, sleet, snow, Christmas Day, whatever it is. Every morning I hand cycle a marathon. And I thought, well, if that doesn't kind of get our kids inspired and go to universities and motivational speaking like I do today with Jimmy, well, nothing else can work, you know. But then I thought, well, what I'm going to do, want to actually do this, want to speak to children, how does that work? So, you know, I spoke to, you know, lots of schools and said, do you want me to come in? And he said, yes, I was very fortunate to actually have the opportunity through sport and my achievements to get into schools. Very difficult to get into schools these days, very, very difficult. So I used the medals and I used my personality and where I've gone in sport to actually get to those schools. And it was originally 4 weeks and just through sheer overwhelming response, it's just unbelievable. It went to 6 months. But 6 months then went into a year. It's been a year now, but the campaign is going into 2016, 17, 18, 19, and also in 11 other countries as well. That's all due to overwhelming positive response, not only from children, but parents and from the schools themselves. And the schools are saying, listen, we need someone like you coming in, because as a teacher, they don't really listen to us because we're a teacher, but to actually someone else to come in and say, listen, stigma bullying is wrong and these are the effects it can have, and also as well, getting outside and being positive role models for one another, they will listen to you more. And that's how it all started. And as I say, 45,000 children have spoken to in a year. I've hand cycled over 3,500 miles. So looking back at this, going, yeah, 50,000 miles. It's nothing, that's the past that in 6 months, or less than 6 months. I hand cycled the TT circuit, and I can hand cycle the marathon in an hour and 8 minutes. So fast, very fast. Average speed about 51 miles an hour for over 26 miles. But my journey didn't start a year ago. My journey started 6 years ago, so going to 7 years. Because in August 2008, as I mentioned on the documentary, I went to bed perfectly fit and healthy. There was nothing wrong with me whatsoever. Nothing wrong with me. I had no symptoms, I was no drug addict, an alcoholic, I was nothing. I was very, very fit and healthy. But I went to bed, and I then woke up surrounded by doctors, and obviously was in the hospital. And I never knew anything, I didn't know anything. Where I was, who I was, very, very confused, but also very scared. And he said, Adrian, do you know where you are? I said, no. He said, well, you're in Warrington Hospital. And you've been here for 3 days, you've been unconscious, you have to be in a coma. And he said, we wasn't too sure if you were going to wake up, but you are. So, it's been 3 days though. And so obviously very, very shocked about that. You know, what's going on? Why am I here? And he said, well, first of all, what we think, we need to give you we need to check for meningitis first of all, because we think you've had a brain hemorrhage. So 9 spinal taps later, they said I contracted chemical meningitis. And so to wake up and then to have these needles thrust into your back 9 times was unbelievable. But they had to make sure, and they had to make sure. And it was confirmed that I contracted chemical meningitis. And they said, Adrian, there's a reason for this though. There's a reason why, you know, you've gone to bed, you've had a brain hemorrhage, you've contracted meningitis. There's a reason for this. But we need to transfer you to another hospital. You know, we need to transfer you to a really phenomenal. Great support from them. And so I was rushed by ambulance to Walton, Europe, and I got there. They welcomed me into the wing and said, right, you're going to have 4 brain scans today, 4 MRI scans. So I said, okay, so I've never been in an MRI scan before, didn't know what to expect, and it's quite an interesting experience for those who've been in an MRI scan. But, I was there, and I lay there for about 3 hours for scans, and I had 4 of those that day. And, he came back to me and said, Adrian, listen, we've done 1 scan, we need to go back, we need to do another. Is there something not right here? So they did, and then he came back and said, we need to do another. And 4 scans later, he approached me and said, listen, it's not good news. We're actually amazed, we've never seen anything like this before. What we found is a brain tumour, and it's 4 inches long, an inch wide, and 6 inches deep into the brain, where your 2 central lobes of the brain are. It's right, slap bang in the middle. It's like a big C. The back part's connected to my spine, front part's connected to my optical nerve. Nothing we can do for you. In fact, we'll give you 5 days. Maybe a week if you're lucky. Just like that, my life changed. My life changed forever. I was 34, I had 2 children, I was getting married that year, at the end of the year, it was August by this point. And just, what can you say to that? To go to bed perfectly fit and healthy, to wake up, to have spinal taps are horrific, and then to be transferred, having all these MRI scans, very frightening, very frightening, because I didn't know what was going on. And then to be told that I had 5 days, maybe a week to live, was just petrifying for myself. So they said, what do you think you should do? We need to call your family in, and you can either tell them or you can tell them. So I said, no, I'll tell them. So my partner came in with my daughters, and my brother came in, and my family, and I had to tell them. I had to tell them that they gave me a week, but it could go anymore. And as you all can imagine, if you have children and families and partners, it's horrific, it really, really was. So I taught to my daughters who were 12 and 10 and taught them to sing, to be the best I can be. I won't be here to see you grow up properly, I won't be able to see you, I won't be able to put your dress with on, I won't be able to walk down the aisle, I'm not going to be able to see how babies and things like this, be a grandparent. I'm not going to do all these things, I'm not going to be able to see you, but I'll be looking down at you, and I want to be the best I can be. And that was the reality of my life. Horrific. I even apologized to my partner for not getting married that year. It's like, Pastor, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it. She obviously told me to shut up. But, just to apologize because I felt guilty that this was happening to myself. And to see all my family around me, crying, it was really horrific for myself. Psychologically, it was just so distressing. But, I gave everyone a good kiss and big hug goodbye because I didn't know if I was going to wake up that following morning. It gave me up to 5 days, maybe a week before I was done. And so by 9 o'clock, everyone left, and I'm laying there in bed, and I was just petrified. I can't explain it. It was just horrific. It really was. And I thought, wow, I'm 34, and I've got so much to do, and I just don't have any time to do it anymore. So by 10 o'clock, doctors saw that I was getting really anxious. My blood pressure was through the roof, and I was having panic attacks, and I didn't want to go to sleep. I was forcing myself not to go to sleep, even though I was physically exhausted. And so eventually doctors came to me and gave me a sedative and like, you've got to go to sleep. And it was about 12 o'clock by this point, if I'm doing that. So they did. And I fought it as long as I could, and then obviously went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning, and I was like, wow, I'm still here. It's a relief for myself. It's a blessed day. I can't believe I'm still here. And, but what I didn't realise was it was also a curse, because I had to relive the previous day. Because I then had to say goodbye to my family again. I had to say goodbye to my daughters again. They were off school, they were visiting me every day. But it was a curse, because I had to sit through all this pain and suffering again that I had to go through. Even though that day was a blessing, it was a curse. And so I went to bed again, saying goodbye to everyone. He injected me with another sedative because there was no way I was going to sleep by myself. And I went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning and he went, Adrian, listen, it's really good that you're waking up. you know, it's not going to be long now. It's not going to be long. Keep saying goodbye to your father. Keep saying it. And it was. And the next day, you know, I said the same thing. And the next day, it was 5 days into it. And by this point, I actually asked the doctors to kill me. I said, listen, I can't take this anymore. If I'm going to die, let's just get rid of it. Let's just do it now. And that was the reality, because I couldn't bear to see my daughters crying again. I couldn't bear to talk to them about being the best I could anymore and being inspired and just being positive role models and making me proud. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was just heartbreaking. It's soul destroying. And so I said to the doctor, I said, we just end it. And they said, obviously, I said, no. And I'm actually thankful for that now, because obviously it's been 6 years later. But 5 days went to 7 days. Doctors were saying, baby, it's a miracle. Any day, any day. 7 days went into a month went into 3 months. And doctors were saying, Adrian, we just don't understand. It's distracting their heads. And more MRI scans are saying it's like a volcano. This tumour is like a volcano. It will go any moment. Any moment. But you'll just go. You won't feel any pain. It'll just explode, and that will be it. And we just don't understand why you're still here. We honestly don't, because this tumour is so big. It's 4 inches long. But they said, listen, we think you should go home. And how they explained it to me in my life was exactly this. They said, Adrian, why don't you go home? Because it's better to die in your own bed than it is to die in hospital. And that was the reality of my life. Better to die in your own bed than it is to die in hospital. And that was the reality. There was no expectations there. Go home and live every day, because it will be possibly your last. And so I did. And due to meningitis and the brain tumour, cognitive issues, muscle wastage in my legs, I was also then new to being a wheelchair user as well. So it wasn't just one thing, it was now, unfortunately, in a wheelchair as well. So just the basics of body image was massive for myself. I'm 6'4", I'm 55-inch chest, I was a sports therapist, I had a phenomenal physique. By that point, I'd put on about 7 stone with steroids, and I was bloated. I couldn't feel my legs anymore, muscle wastage, and I couldn't bear to look at myself in the mirror. Simple as that, it was reality. And, you know, I borrowed this wheelchair from a local charity, and I said to my family, I want to go outside. The first thing I want to do, I just want to go outside. I've been stuck in a hospital. This could be my last day. I don't know. I want to breathe the fresh air. I want to go outside and do things mundane like everyone else does. Buy something from the shop. Look at the sun. You know, very cliche things, but they were really important to myself, because I didn't know if I was going to see the sun again. And so my family was saying, no, don't do it. And I said, no, I want to do it. And I was very, very poorly still. And so I borrowed this wheelchair from a local charity, who I'm now ambassador for. And I live near a main road in a massive park. So I got in this wheelchair, and I wheeled myself up to the main road. And it's a very, very busy main road. And obviously pushed the button and waited for the lights to change across the road. And as I was sat there, very, very poorly, you know, just waiting for these lights to change so we go to a park, you know, some people in the car, who's in the van, never forget it, in a white van, I think it was 3 or 4 people in this van, decided to start heckling me as they were driving past. And the documentary I filmed, you know, was, you know, I mentioned a couple of things, but it was very PG rated because I knew it was going to schools. But effing crippled, spastic, effing retarded, all these things were thrown at me, were said as they were driving past. And these guys thought it was so funny. They were laughing, they thought it was absolutely hilarious that they could start heckling someone because I was in a wheelchair. I didn't know who they were. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know that I just got out of hospital a couple of days prior to that, and that this may be my last time on earth. They didn't know any of those things. They just thought, there's a guy in a wheelchair, we're going to start calling him names at his expense, and they did. But I guarantee you that after they drove past, 5 minutes later, well, not even that, a couple of minutes later, they probably would have forgotten about that for the rest of their lives. They would have carried on, you know, with their day. But for myself, I was completely devastated. To the point where whatever confidence I had left to go outside was strictly bare. I had nothing left. I actually just bawled my eyes out right there and then in the middle of the street. Devastated. Devastated. And I turned around I wheeled myself back home, I told my family what was going on, and I isolated myself for 4 months. I would not go outside. Even though every day was a blessing to myself, every day I woke up, it was a blessing, it's a miracle I'm still here. I could spend time with my family, my friends, and my daughters. It was a blessing, but it also, I just couldn't handle it anymore. You know, being bullied that way, through no fault of my own, and having everything stripped bare, it really was. And even now, as a double gold medalist, as I'm a big chap, very confident now, I've accepted that I'm going to die. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm living life every day. I still get heckled on the street. I had a McDonald's hamburger thrown at me 3 weeks ago. Some guy thought it'd be a great idea to hit the guy in the wheelchair with a McDonald's hamburger. I still get heckled on the street. It happens. You know, my partner, she's able-bodied, you know, we're walking, and obviously I'm rolling down next to her, and some guys say, what are you doing with him, love? You know, he's a cripple. You know, things like this. And she's so angry at that. Obviously, she's very protective of myself. But it happens. And since becoming an ambassador for hate crime, for stigma and bullying in the United Kingdom, I'm receiving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters from children, from adults saying, listen, I was bullied 20 years ago, and you know, I'm just social anxiety, depression, I still never got over it. You know, I'm getting kids who are self-harming, you know, all of these things you can't handle with today's society of modern technology of iPhones, and you can be bullied in your bedroom, you can be bullied 5,000 miles away on the beach. So part of the campaign I do is to talk and inspire people about, think about what you say before you say it. And that's how this campaign started last year, because I was a victim. I was also a victim, a major victim of the crime in 2013, because I'm actually now retired. I'm retired from Great Britain, because 6 men thought it'd be a great idea to rob me at knife point, and to steal all my medals, all my torch, Paralympic Lantern that I carried, all of these amazing memorabilia that I had, 6 big cases of equipment. And they thought, well, Adrian's a wheelchair user, you know, vulnerable, 1 blow to the head, and, you know, he's done. So he's not going to do anything. So they thought it'd be a great idea. And that's what they did. They went through my garage into the house, they saw 6 bags, and they took this, even my wheelchair, my Great Britain wheelchair, they broke it, so they tried to steal it. And fortunately for me, I had another public appearance last minute, and so I took 1 bag with me, and that's this bag here, this is all I had left. So I was very fortunate that I didn't steal my medals. All it did take was about £50,000 of equipment, coaching equipment, all of these things. All because I was vulnerable. All because I was a wheelchair user and I couldn't fight back. So I know exactly what it feels like to get bullied, and I know what it feels like to be on the end of hate crime as well, because they thought it'd be a great idea. And they got away with it. Not one of them served the jail time. They took everything from me, retired me. So I couldn't get that money back in time. I couldn't get that equipment back in time to then continue training for Rio. My Great Britain #1 spot, you know, and all these, you know, the high, I just went down the rankings and couldn't compete anymore. So I couldn't get back to being, you know, high up in the charts. I couldn't do it anymore. It would take too long for me to do it. So I had to retire through no fault of my own. And it's sport that gave me the will to live. And that started because I sat on the couch and my family was saying, Adrian, listen, you just need to relax. All we want you to do is relax, to take your medication, and just to enjoy life. I said, well, how can I enjoy it from sat on the couch? That was my mentality. And I said, there's only so much Jeremy Kyle you can watch, and you better get outside. You know, and it was, and I said, right, I want to go outside. I want to meet people with disabilities, because I was used to being a wheelchair user. I didn't know anyone in a wheelchair, really. So I looked online, and the British Olympic Association were holding tryouts for Great Britain for 2012, and we're now in, you know, 2009, bordering 2010, and I thought, well, I want to get outside again, I want to start meeting people. But before I did that, I had to learn to read again. I had to learn to write again. The basics that we take for granted, I had to relearn everything. And even now, I have the reading age of probably about a 9-year-old. And I have the writing age of a 5-year-old. That's just unfortunately how it is. Parts of my brain just don't work anymore. But I accepted that, and I said, right, I just want to go outside again. So I sent my application form off, and I thought, you know, I had this amazing weekend where I could try all the Paralympic sports, and, you know, and what they said was basically, try all the sports, talk to the coaching staff, meet athletes, and then if you like the sport, go home, find a local club, and just enjoy it. And that's all it was for me. I was far too ill to actually compete. So I was accepted onto this training camp for a whole weekend at Brunel University. And all the coaches were there, and they were saying, you've done amazingly well, 5,000 people applied for this, 75 of you here. Have fun for the whole weekend. And I did. I spoke to lots of coaching staff, lots of athletes, and yeah, I tried fencing for the first time. I thought, wow, I've never tried fencing before, especially not in a wheelchair either. And I thought it's pretty cool, and I've got with me one of my swords. This is the only sword I have now. This was in my bag, but all the rest of everything else was taken. But this one I was actually going to go medal, and he said, right, Adrian, what we need you to do is hit someone over the head with this sword. That's all we need you to do. And I thought, well, that's actually pretty cool. I could do that. He went, yeah, he said, but just to let you know, apart from a speeding bullet, the tip of a fencing sword is the second fastest object to hit you in the boot. That's one point. Fast. That's 1 point. He said you can train 60 hours a week, probably 355 days a year, something like that. You know, 4 years for the Paralympics and to be able to do 15 seconds. Oh, wow, that's really cool. And he said, all you have to do is hit them as hard as you can, as fast as you can. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I quite like that. And so I tried it. I tried all the sports, and I was invited back to tennis, for archery, for shooting, basketball, all of them. But to be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoyed fencing. And I tried it. He said, right, we need to come back to Stoke Mandeville. We know you're ill. We know your condition. We know that you may not last a week, never mind 2012. But we want you to, we want you to try it. And so they invited me back to Stoke Mandeville. We met all the staff and the coaches. He said, right, okay, how do you feel about, trying out for Great Britain? I said, well, yeah, but I've never done this sport before, and I'm still very ill. But he said, no, listen, just have a go. And I did. And I fenced to the Great Britain number one, who obviously obliterated myself. But I thought, well, this is really, really cool. Not only because it was something for me to do, but it also got me out, it got me talking to people. It started building my confidence back. I was slurring my words, so I was like a stroke victim. So the more I spoke to people, the better my speech became, just because I was practicing all the time. But also, psychologically, it gave me that lift. It gave me a purpose again. Because everything was taken from me, and I didn't know what my purpose was in life. It was taken from me. I didn't know what to do. And sport, and I mentioned that in the documentary, sport gave me a life. Sport gave me a new life, a purpose in life again. And I think that's why I'm still here 6 years later. Because it did. It gave me a purpose. I was inspired by other athletes. But I filmed many documentaries, TV shows and whatever else. And people see the shiny side of an athlete, see them winning medals, see them on the podium, but don't really understand what goes on behind the camera, behind the podium, and how you train, how it affects your family. It's a very selfish life. Musicians and athletes say the most selfish people, because it's about their sport, it's about their music, and you've got to have a very, very passionate person to be with, and family, and understanding family and friends, because you're not there for birthdays, you're not there for Christmas, you're traveling, you're touring, and you're competing. But it gave me a life, and my partner realised that and understood that. It took her a while, because I missed 3 birthdays and 2 Christmases in a row, so oh my goodness, she's going to kill me. But she understood, because she knew that it gave me a reason to live. But what people didn't understand, though, they saw me, doing all these amazing things, and, public appearances and whatever else, but they didn't understand just how ill I was. They could read it, read my bio, but they didn't really fully understand or appreciate it. And I actually recently filmed a documentary purely about my disability, how I and what I have to do to actually train to compete. Because people don't understand that I have to take 300 milligrams of morphine every day just to function. Just to get out of bed, 300 milligrams of morphine. I think this is a 400 milligram bottle. So, just below that, 300 milligrams of morphine. That's just to get out of bed. That's just to function. That's just to remember who I am and where I am and the pain and the pressure just to help society. I also take about 67 tablets a day. They keep me alive, mainly for pain and pressure, the brain, swelling of the brain. But some people don't understand that. When I was competing for Great Britain, urinating blood every day, vomiting. When I was winning gold medals, no one knows this apart from my PA who was with me, was that I was, blood was coming from the bottom, I was wearing women's sanitary towels as I was competing for Great Britain winning gold medals. People don't know that because I was wearing whites and I thought any blood is just terrible and on television and competing, so we actually, when we started in Poland and we actually went and purchased massive packs of sanitary towels because my body was breaking down. My body was saying, Adrian, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing this. But it was a fight. We all have a choice in life. You can either do something, live life to the full, live every day as a blessing, or we sit on the couch following self-pity, we do nothing, and we wait to die. For me, that's not life. For me, that's not living. Because I've been at death's door, I'm still at death's door. So every day for me is a blessing. Also, I have a thankful board as well. And I'm not too sure if any of you have met Jimmy before, but I know Jimmy, loves the thankful boards, And what it is I have a big whiteboard, probably the size of the screen there, a big whiteboard. And every morning, I write on that board, what am I thankful for? Well, first of all, I'm alive, I've woken up. Even though I'm vomiting, even though I'm still urinating blood, even though, my body's breaking down, abscesses, sores, I may lose my legs soon, due to meningitis. I'm still thankful that I've woken up, first of all. I'm thankful that it's sunny outside. I'm thankful it's raining outside. I'm just thankful that I'm alive. Having a thankful board will help all of you achieve anything you want to achieve. We all get depressed, but it's how we pick ourselves back up. Sometimes we fail. We fail, in work, we fail in life, we fail in other things. But it's how you pick yourself back up and think about how it happened. Same with me with sport. Did I hydrate the correct way? Was my psychology the right way? Did I prepare myself the right way? 80% of sport is psychology. You hear about footballers, so he's lost confidence. Doesn't mean he's not a great athlete. Doesn't mean he doesn't collect £200,000 a week. It just means he's lost confidence because psychologically something's not right. His preparation's not right. Usain Bolt, fastest man in the world. 3 false starts out of World Championships. Why? Well, he said the preparation wasn't there. Psychologically, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't right. It just wasn't. 3 false starts is out. And you can use the thankful board in any way, shape or form that you want to. You can write down management. Okay, wake up in the morning. Okay, what do I have today? Well, I have work. Okay, what time do I need to wake up? What time do I need to have breakfast? So actually sit down, and plan my day instead of having an extra half an hour, rushing through, missing breakfast, swearing at the traffic because you're running late anyway, and getting frustrated by the time you get to work. Personally, I don't listen to the news at night, and I don't listen to the news in the morning. I don't do that. Because if I go to bed at night and I listen to the news, there's so much negativity in the world, which is more reported, it's highly reported. Because people think the negative side is better reported than the good stuff. It's always negative. You may get a couple of great stories that are positive, but it's mainly predominantly negative. It's a scare factor. So I don't want to go to bed at night thinking and worrying about the state of the world for my daughters or even for myself. I'm going to go to bed being thankful that I'm still here. So I don't listen to news, I'm reading newspapers in the morning. Just it's negative, far too negative for me. And, you know, I take time out, I give myself an extra hour. I mentioned hand cycling, half marathons. I actually hand cycle marathons a day, as I say. So I'm up at 4:30, 4:15 in the morning, every morning. No matter how ill I am, no matter how I'm feeling, I get up, I take all my medication, I take a lot of water, hydrate, and make sure that I took the night before everything was right for me to actually do that. Same with competing. And you can use that in anything. In work, you know, in life itself, is how you psychologically and physically take care of your body. So important, so important. Because that's how I won gold medals. I won gold medals because my preparation was right. I won gold medals because I used visualization techniques to actually compete. And I know you're going to be doing some things with Jimmy later on, some techniques. I very, very frequently use the snap technique, and I use one of my campaign this time. I'm not going to say too much about it because Jimmy can teach you this later on. But, you know, how I train and how I get to that competition, I visualize what I have to do to compete. And you can do this in any job, in anything that you want to do. You can visualize what you want to achieve that day. And you can achieve it. I'm living proof. It just takes a lot of hard work, dedication, discipline, focus, determination. And if you fail, it's how you pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and then carry on and do that again. And find out why you failed. Was it because this was missing? Did I give myself enough time to do whatever it is? Did I focus enough? Did I concentrate enough? The basics, you can use those in life that I use, not only in my life, but in sport as well. I visualized my opponent even before they were in front of me. I visualized how I would hold my sword. I visualized the motion that how I would hit someone. And I'll just close my eyes. Close my eyes now, and I can actually see while my opponent's in front. And I'm actually gripping my saber, and I'm holding it a certain way, and I'm twisting my wrist here, because I know it's an angle, I can get them on the right arm there, and that's what I'm thinking, and I can parry, I can move, and riposte in here. But I'm visualizing what I'm going to do, how I'm going to attack, what that person's going to do to counteract that. That's how I won gold medals so quickly with competing for Great Britain and beating everyone, was because I visualized. My psychological training was more than anyone else. I trained Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Always have to be match fitness. And people often ask, and I get asked this all the time, who motivates me, who inspires me. And a lot of kids don't know who he is, know you all will. I'm not saying you're old or anything, but yeah, you are. Gaby Thompson, phenomenal athlete. And they're like, why Gaby Thompson? It's from the 80s, and he's able-bodied, and this guy. And I said, well, Gaby Thompson gave an interview, and he said, Daly, why did you train on Christmas Day? And his answer was, because my competitors don't. That's enough said, isn't it? Philosophy behind that man was, my competitors don't. What's going to give me the edge on anyone else? It's a psychological edge, it's a physical edge. I train Christmas Day. So I took that ethos on board as well. And so, competing for 3 years of Great Britain and managing to attain 2 gold medals, 3 silver medals. I carried the Olympic torch in 2012. I thought it really brought back into Great Britain, the Olympic torch, passing it, around and seeing the community, children getting really inspired, and everyone got inspired by it. And I was very fortunate to carry this. And I also, in 2012, was part of the Paralympic and Olympic celebrations. And I brought this with me today because I want you all to see it. This is the actual original Olympic and Paralympic Lantern that brought the flame over from Greece to England, that lived in the cauldron. That then reused the actual Olympic torches as a tool to pass on that flame all the way around the country. I think it's something like 10 8, something like that. And this is the only one with circulation, the rest are locked up on down the street. Up in Palace and whatever else. I think it's the only one with circulation that I know of anyway. And this is mine. But 2012 was a phenomenal experience, not only for our country, but for our athletes as well. And it was just amazing. And I thought, 3 years, and I look back at all these things, 3 years of competing in Great Britain, 6 years of being a wheelchair user, and telling me I had days to live, a week to live, and I'm still here. My tumour will go. It's inevitable. I will have another brain hemorrhage. I have small bleeds into the brain already. It just there. My tumour's saying, you know, don't forget about me, it's still there. You know, I have these regular bleeds every 3-4 months, and it wipes me out for about a week. Now, here I am, I can't speak, and you know, memory loss and all these things, and then slowly kind of build up to speaking again. It takes about a week, sort of fortnight to actually recover. But as I'm still recovering, I'm still hand-cycling, I'm doing all these crazy, stupid things, but that gives me the momentum to keep going, that keeps me fighting. Because the day I sit down and do nothing is the day that probably my tumour will go, because that's the day that I give up. But I don't give up. Every day is a blessing. No matter what life brings you, every day is a blessing. It really, honestly is. And it's how you utilize that day, how you use certain things as, you know, visualization, you know, the SNAP technique, and really get yourself to that point, that pinnacle point, and say it could be work, it could be sport, it could be anything in your life. Or everything that I use daily in my life as well. So it's not just about sport. It's not. It's about life. It's about life management, time management, making yourself have the extra little bit of time for you, spending it with family. And that's how time management can work as well. Giving an extra bit of time. Oh, I'm so busy. I work 93 hours a week at the moment. Volunteering for 7 or 8 charities, I can't remember. But this campaign has now, you know, it's just absolutely phenomenal. The Prime Minister and you know, children, 45,000 children. And they're saying to me, wow, you know, it's just how can you do all these things? You know, and I say, well, if you fail, you pick yourself back up, and that's in any way, shape, any life. It's how you pick yourself. It's how you, as long as you learn by your failures, you know, as long as you learn from it and go, you know something, I'm going to try this again, and how did I fail? What did I do wrong? Or what didn't I do at all? And I talk to children because they need to be proactive, they need to be bright, they need to be positive role models. It's a big thing for me, positive role models. And we all can be there. I'm an ambassador for 7 or 8 charities. You know, I speak to children and say, you're ambassadors for your charity, for your school. You're wearing your school badge. You're an ambassador for your school, you're ambassadors for your family, your parents, you're ambassadors for yourselves. So what you do, you know, if you do it amazingly well, reflects well on your family, reflects well on yourselves. But if you do something negative, do something naughty, it's going to reflect bad on you, but also your parents and your school as well. And so it's educating our children, it's educating them to be the best that they can be, and saying to them, we all fail in life sometimes, but it's how you pick yourself back up. And it's the same with you all as well. If you're not happy with your job, what's stopping you from changing it? If you're not happy in life itself, why? Write with the thankful board. I also do hypnosis as well, and it's a board technique that I visualize, that I'm writing on a board, and I'm writing everything that's positive in my life. And then I also write on there what's negative in my life. And one by one, I visualize myself rubbing and erasing the negatives. And then I write again, what's positive in my life? What's negative in my life? And slowly but surely, those negatives get smaller and smaller and smaller. Because I'm realizing that all of these positives in my life, way outnumber the negatives in my life. And I have every reason to be depressed, and I have every reason to give up, but I don't. My life experience has made me the person I am today. I still get upset, I still get depressed and anxious sometimes. But it's how I pick myself up and how I get up in the morning and go, yes, I have to take 300 milligrams of morphine every morning. It's not pleasant. Yes, I have to take 67 tablets a day. But what do I have I'm grateful for, that I'm thankful for? Well, I'm alive is the biggest thing. Sometimes we take that for granted. We take life for granted. We think about the negatives instead of the positives. Part of my campaign is to turn that around and say, even to children who are self-harming, who are cutting themselves because of bullying and can't see a way out, the first thing I say is talk to someone about it. And I'll say the same to you all. Talk to someone, talk to your partner. If you're not feeling, feeling a bit low, then talk to your partner. Why are you feeling that way? It's better to talk to someone than it is to just close yourself off. Isolate yourself. That's what I did when I was bullied. I isolated myself. The isolation went into, anxiety. Anxiety went into depression. And I had all this medication, and I thought, well, I'm going to die anyway. Why not just do it now? And I actually had all this medication. Not many people know this. I had all this medication, probably about 6 months into coming home. And I was just there, and I had like 17 bottles of morphine. Everything was there, to keep me going for that month. And all of these tablets. And I thought, I popped them all out, and they were there. And I thought, right, I'm going to do it. And I looked at them for about an hour. And I thought, why am I doing this? All right, yeah, my life is crap. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm in a wheelchair. Yeah, they're saying I've got whatever, how many hours or weeks to live. But why really am I doing this? What do I have to lose? And I thought about my children. I thought about my partner. I just realised how precious life is, because it was nearly taken away from me through no fault of my own. And I thought, I can't do this. But life is still living. I was on the verge of taking all this medication, and we know it would revive me with the amount of medication I had. I was so close to taking it. The pills were popped. They were there, a handful in my hand. But why? Why am I doing this? Rock bottom. That's where I was, rock bottom. But I managed to build myself back up, because I thought to myself, and I accepted that I would never be the same person again, that I would never kick a ball again, run again. It was just reality of, I'm not going to do this again, but what can I now do? Well, became an athlete. But yet that was taken from me 3 years later. And then I could have wallowed in self-pity again and go, well, I tried. It was taken from me, could have wallowed in self-pity again. I'm going to just sit on the couch, watch TV again. What's the point if it's going to be taken away from me? All that hard work, what's the point? And then I thought, well, if it's happened to me, how many other people has it happened to? How many other people are getting bullied? How many other people are getting heckled on the street? So then I became the ambassador for hate crime in the United Kingdom. It was something else that gave me a purpose again, that I had this opportunity, that sport gave me to a plateau where I then could become an ambassador to these charities and to support people around the UK, around the world. My campaign is to go to 11 countries next year, and promoting disability awareness, as well as the country as well. And I would say receiving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters every month from young kids saying, I'm disgraced, my mum's white, my dad's black, I get beaten up, I get heckled because I don't fit into a box. I'm not white, I'm not black, I'm mixed race. So I get spat on, and I get slapped across the face. And this girl, was stockpiling medication for an entire year, ibuprofen, paracetamol, basic over-the-counter stuff that she managed to attain, but also through her parents' medication cabinet. And she actually took bits by bits. And she actually had a year's supply of medication, and she was going to actually, take all of that and overdose the Saturday. And I came to the school the Friday knowing nothing. And I gave my hour and a half assembly talk talked about bullying, we talked about stigma, talked about talking to someone about, you know, anything. If you feel it, let's talk to someone about it. Don't isolate yourself. I talked about my life experience. And I didn't realise that young lady walked on, left the assembly, went home and told her mum for the first time that I'm being bullied, and have been for nearly 2 years. I have been self-harming, been cutting my breasts, been cutting my thighs, but you can't see because of my bikinis and things that you haven't noticed. But she's been doing all of these things because she wasn't white and she wasn't black and she was crucified for it. One of the hundreds and hundreds of letters that I'm receiving, you know, every month. Declan was 11, climbed the tree, his legs fell out, broke his spine, he's 12 now. And every time Declan goes out, gets spat on in the community by the community boys. You know, and they give him a bit of a gig, a bit of a slap or whatever. He's 12, his entire life is in front of him, yet he tries to kill himself about 4 months ago. And I actually went to the school contacted me, went to the school, I started talking to Declan one-on-one to mentor him. Talked about my life experiences. It happens. But once again, with the children, with yourselves, it's how you handle these situations. It really honestly is. How you handle it, how you talk to someone about it. It's very, very important to talk to someone. And before I go, obviously I'm more than happy to, I'm going to be here for a while. What time is it? I'm more than happy, I'm here for a while. So wants to approach me, have a chat, or any questions, please feel free to ask me any questions. But before I go, if I can manage to achieve all of these things, and 2 things, if I can manage to achieve all of these things, 3 years of being a Great Britain athlete, 6 years of saying I had days to live, I say to everyone, just imagine what you can achieve. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 90, 10, it doesn't matter. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be sports, it doesn't have to be go-go, but it could be anything. But it's how you prepare for your day. It's how you prepare for your week that really made a difference in my life. Not only because of medication, but I needed to know, right, okay, what do I need to do to train, or what do I need to do just to get me physical, aware of my surroundings, and you know how much medication you need to take, you know, how I had to hydrate, how I had to eat. Very, very important for myself. Not as an athlete, but because of the medication that I'm on. But having that thankful board every morning, what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful that I'm alive. Everyone should have a thankful board. Really, really important that. Absolutely amazing tool. It really honestly is. You're not only thankful, but what am I going to achieve today? What are my goals? How am I, going to, achieve those goals? Having realistic expectations of your goals. Not, okay, I'm going to be Prime Minister in a year, it's not going to happen. But if you say, right, okay, well, I may want to lose 5 pounds, or I may want to get that, the job that I've always wanted, be self-employed, or, a promotion at work. Well, how am I going to achieve that? How am I going to stand out amongst others? Well, how do you look at yourself first of all and say, right, okay, what do I need to work on? What am I thankful for? What am I thankful for? What am I thankful for? It's so important. We can get wrapped up in the negativity of life. That's why I don't watch the news at night. I don't, because I know that my dream pattern and stuff like that, sleep is just horrendous. Because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm worried about it. I don't do it at night, and in the morning, I don't look at the news as well. Because I know I'm psychologically prepared for every day. And I don't want any negativity wrapped up in that. I don't. That's how I managed to achieve what I've achieved. That's, I think, how I just applied this done to hand. It's psychologically, so I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to wallow in self-pity. I'm going to get up off the couch, and I'm actually going to do something. So, thank you so much for having me. I've obviously known Jimmy because I've done an NLP course with Jimmy. And we met and we had a great chat, and Jimmy's philosophy is absolutely fantastic. And I thought, wow, he's not as good looking as me, but he's a good guy. He's growing the beard as well, I've just noticed as well, But Jimmy's a great guy, and I say to you all, listen to what he has to say. It's absolutely fantastic. Come to as many courses as you you possibly can with Jimmy. You know, he knows his stuff. And as an athlete, listen to what he has to say. He does know his stuff. You know, I have to say that. You know, just listening to what he does and how he talks, you know, and how he trains people is absolutely fantastic. It is in the top of his game. So before I go, does anyone ask me any questions at all? You're not happy, but does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir?
You mentioned that reporting.
Yes.
You report it to whom? If you report it to teachers, teachers don't take it serious. Report it to police won't take it serious because there were no time for these.
Well, I
report it to charities.
Sure. I know there's a lot of frustration out there, especially with the police. I actually work with the Commissioner of Cheshire Police. And I sit down with John every 2-3 weeks. I go, right, okay, how's it looking? Because reporting hate crime and reporting stigma and bullying is highly underreported because people are scared of the ramifications of what is going to happen if I get police involved, what's going to happen if I talk to my teacher, what's going to happen, you know, if I actually report it to a charity, you know. And what happens is with the hate crime with the police is, and I know this because I've actually sat there and listened to calls, is that if you say, yeah, whatever reason it's a hate crime because of this, my religion, sexual identity, whatever it is, they actually put H next to that call. That call then is passed on to a completely separate group than other 999 emergencies. It's specifically for officers who are trained in hate crime.
They don't record it.
No, it's all with that H in there, that box, it's all recorded.
If they don't take it serious, they don't record it.
How do you know that?
You know that personal experience.
Personal experience.
Yeah.
Is that because you've been a victim or because you've worked in a facility where...
I've been a victim many times.
Yeah.
They don't record it at all.
Well, I can tell you from my perspective as an ambassador, and I talk to the police say very, very regularly, seeing how it is, that they put H next to that recording, that is passed to a separate team who just deal with hate crime. That team then contacts that person. That's how it should work. Schools, once again, working with teachers, getting them educated as well. And you need to kind of look at this. I've been to some schools that has been horrendous, absolutely horrendous when it comes to stigma, bullying, and hate crime. Horrendous. And I've visited probably about 500 schools up to now, say 45,000 children I've spoken to. And I've been to other schools that have been amazing, absolutely amazing. But there's no consistency, you know, with the schools that don't do a lot. There isn't, you know, sometimes they report it, sometimes they don't. How do we report it? So working in Warrington for the strategy in Warrington and part of Cheshire strategy is I work with Safer Places. Safer Places are a charity that are in schools, they're in businesses, that if you're being bullied in the street or it's a hate crime, you can go to a certain business and Safer Places will have a person there and then you can report to that reporting centre. And they can be in gyms, they can be in different places. So I know Safer Places do a lot, and I work a lot with them as well, with other charities. You know, if it's personal experience, I can only apologise. What I'd like to do is get your experience and maybe have a chat with you or you to email me what's happened. Because obviously, you know, the police have said we haven't got it right all the time, we don't get it right all the time. And this is what they said in the last hate crime conference in Windsor. We haven't got it right, but what we want to do is we want to get it right to teach us and show us what we've done wrong. But then, you know, this is what we're then going to do to approach that and also to get better ourselves. I thought it was really honest of John White. He said, yeah, we haven't got it right. Sometimes we don't. But we want to learn, we want to get it better. And that left me a lot of confidence. But if you want to have a chat with me afterwards, I'm more than happy to have a chat, because I would like to know this as well. It's highly reported. And if it's not being reported, or if it is being reported and not being reported by the police, then it's something there's a breakdown somewhere. But I've had, you know, lots of people approach me and said they really have a lot of support from the police, and a lot of support, you know, from the community and charities as well. So I'm not too sure if you just slip through the net or use a specific reason, I don't know. So, but I'm happy to talk to you about that. If you want to tell me your experience, I can report it back and say, why hasn't this happened? And but as far as I'm aware, everyone is recorded, and that H next to it is supposed to a special team who deals with that. Anyone else? Yeah.
How long does Paralympic take seriously like these?
It's very, very, it's taken very seriously.
How long does that
Well, I've been ambassador for 2 years now for hate crime. So I can only tell you from the last 2 years. Different, I'm an ambassador for Stop Hate UK and the ambassador for the entire UK. And Stop Hate UK have telephone lines for labels and hate crime, telephone lines of assistance, and also they work with lots of reporting centres and the police themselves. I think from where it started 2 years ago for myself and where it is now, it's just unbelievable. It really is. I honestly can say otherwise I wouldn't be ambassador for working with the police if I didn't think that they were actually doing as much as they possibly could. I was really upset. With those 6 people with vertigo, I'm like, how can they get prosecuted? I was really angry with that. Yeah, this is a major hate crime. I think it was on Sky News also, how the pressure really was on. And the police, said we can only load the case to so much, and then it's taken over by the Crown Prosecution Service. And it's about the Crown Prosecution Service what they do with the evidence that we provided. And so I'm now working with the Crown Prosecution Service as well, and saying, listen, we'll be talking about being proactive and reporting hate crime, but we need evidence to show that something's going to be done about it. So I'm working very closely with the Crown Prosecution Service as well to actually, to find out exactly what we're going to do about it. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to actually have a police officer at the door, especially as community building. I was in the for a while now, built for myself. But once again, I think it's a learning curve. I don't think you realise just how bad it would be. I think with ISIS and with the sexual identity stuff and transgender, it's obviously it's on the increase in social media. It's just it can be an evil thing. Social media can. The amount of bullying on social media is vast. It's the biggest type of bullying now, and it's educating our children as well. I think that's where it starts, educating our children to say, listen, this is wrong, this is why it's wrong, and this is why our campaign has worked so well. Because teachers go, wow, we need this in our school, we need this in our schools. And it also gives our teachers confidence to start actually going, hang on, maybe we need to be more proactive ourselves, encouraging children, to actually talk to us about it, but also then doing something about it, as Jonathan said. So, it's I can see a dramatic improvement, but it's still lots of work to do, so much work to do. But I think we're on the right step, definitely. Yes, sir.
Tell me what winning a gold medal was like, and maybe more important than a psychological point of view, what silver was.
Yeah. Really interesting, good question. No one's ever asked me about the silver. Gold, yeah. To be honest with you, winning a gold medal is like nothing else. It is, you work so hard. The difference with myself is I have an ongoing disability. So I know there are lots of athletes out there who are Paralympians, who have appendages missing or arm amputees or whatever, but they can still function, brain cognitive and whatever else in their life. For myself, I was training and competing with a disability that was going to kill me. So I had to go through it in a different way because I was vomiting every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day. And the sacrifices, as I say, you're eating blood and all that, going to sanctuary house just to compete. So for me, it was more a personal journey that way, was because I had to sacrifice my body so much to actually then, to get over being disabled, psychologically, to then be an elite athlete and go medalist. So it was a little bit different for myself than other people. I can say the biggest and the proudest moment was wearing my jacket. This surpasses any gold medal for me. So actually, 3 years in battling every day. So actually, my coach and staff and the Great Britain managers say, right, Adrian, this is yours. My Derbyshire judo, my Great Britain stripes. That for me, to still be alive is a blessing, it's a miracle. To actually then, to become an elite athlete after battling everything, you know, my disability and still battling it, getting the jacket was everything to me. A gold medal is a wonderful thing. And I'm sure the athletes will say, yeah, that was the best thing in my life. For me, actually competing for my country, you know, and having that opportunity when just death is always there, was this for me would be more for myself than anything else. You know, because it's always there. It's always on my shoulder that, you know, I can't plan a hole, I can't do anything because I don't do anything wrong. And it's that psychological side of it all. Having to go to bed at night, I'm still awake, I'm not going to be awake the next day. Psychologically, it's the essence of the work. And I think how I overcome it is I've accepted it. Some people never, ever accept, you know, what's going on in their lives. You know, the blame factor of, you know, well, someone else's fault of mine, whiny attitude, you know, there's lots of really bad people out there, of course there are. You know, I'm a good guy, but why so why me? Well, you can't think that way. There's a point where you can't go, you know, so I've got to switch off from this. It's just not healthy anymore. It's not healthy for myself, it's not healthy for my family, and psychologically, you know, it's just, I might as well get. So, but that's a choice that we all have once again. It's about choices, you know, and those positive decisions, making those positive decisions. And we all have a choice at the end of the day. My choice was to fight, to battle, to train, to suffer, but, you know, talk to people about my life and how I suffer. That's what this documentary's just been done. Because people don't see the gold medals waving, and they don't understand what you have to do, and what you have to accomplish to actually just get to that point. So for me, medals were great. Winning silver, yeah, you know, I go for gold. You know, that's just how it is. You know, I think if I go to a competition, or when I did go to a competition and thought, you know, I'll be happy with the bronze, or happy with the silver, and I should be there. I should be competing. You know, I shouldn't, because you're automatically going to compete as attitude. You know, and you've got to be positive all the time. It's quite difficult sometimes. But once again, the tools and the techniques, Jim can show you, you know, visualization techniques, all these things you can use in everyday life. But, boom, this is it. Anyone else want to ask a question? Yes, ma'am. No.
When you're waking up and you're in a lot of pain that morning, which is really bad, how do you motivate yourself to get going?
I'm alive.
Yeah.
Pain. I mean, pain, I'm alive. That's how I see it. Awful, really is. I can't describe how it's awful. And my daughters see it all the time, and I'm slurring my words, and you know, I'm trying to stand up and falling over, and you notice I cracked my skull open a couple of months ago, and you know, that's because I wanted to try and stand up, you know, and try to move around, and fell and cracked my skull open, you know, in the bathroom. Fortunately, I had a wet room, so it was easy to jet wash my blood, but you know, but positive again. There you go. But yeah, it just.
The continual pain is so rare.
It's awful. It really is. Yeah, but I'm alive. You know, I wake up. I'm alive. I'm in pain. And from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, even during the night, I have about 3.5 hours sleep a night, 4 hours of a good night. You know, I'm in pain constantly, but I'm alive, and that surpasses any pain. And that's what you've got to think of, is the positivity of that. I'm alive. Listen.
Positive
Thankful board.
yeah.
You know, it's all these things work for me, and they'll work for anyone, no matter what it is, what's going on in your life. It's always a positive to them. But there is, sometimes people can't see it, you know, and it's once again, it's a choice that we can't see it. It's a choice. Once again, getting up in the morning is a choice. Staying in bed all day for one, I don't do that. You know, it's, you know, well, you know, a bit of rest may help, but it's not going to help me psychologically and physically every day. You know, choice. So I wake up every morning thankful for what I'm thankful
When you're already in pain, putting yourself through the pain of training as well. That must be a huge psychological.
Oh, it's huge. Very much so. But it's made me stronger. It's made me psychologically stronger as well. I also do lots of techniques regarding pain management. And this is where my hypnosis, you know, certification really helps me. The more self-hypnosis and all pain management. as well, and that helps me tremendously. Visualization, again, going to my special place where I know that I can turn pain down, all works. It works for me, and I think this is why I managed to achieve so much in such a small period of time. It's because psychologically I was strong enough to cope, and to cope with what I actually got. You know, don't get me wrong. It's not always 150% I can use that, you know, sometimes I have really bad days, but then I have to rest then. But it's then helping myself to go, and then continue that positive thought process, you know, get back on the mental board again and stuff. I keep mentioning mental board so, you know, positive, it really does help, you know, and yeah. Anyone else like that? Yes?
I just wanted to know, you're doing fantastic. And your idea is that you really can't tell from day to day. What do you see in the future in the sense of who will continue your legacy, who your employees?
It's a really interesting question because I had the meeting. Well, my partner always says, you're going to kill yourself. I'm not going to go anyway, but you're doing way too much. You know, and you're a one-man show in a way because I can't really just record a session and just send it to schools. It's not going to be the same. The reason why it works is because I get children that get into where they're level and get to put in their hands and the opportunity to say, just imagine, you know, what you can achieve as a dedication, hard work, discipline, focus, sacrifice, all of these things. You know, but that wouldn't work if I'm not there. Because this is my life story. So I had a meeting with one of my sponsors, like Adrian, listen, you're doing amazing, you've got to kill yourself. But what are you going to do? What's going to happen? You know, because the future is what's going to happen. You know, for me, I want to leave a legacy of some sort that, you know, because when you're in death's door, you do look back and go, I've had a good life, I'm a good person. How many people are going to turn up to my funeral? And if people are going to cry, or they're going to, it's true, and I've you know, thought about that many times. I think I might have a live band, you know, after my funeral and just stuff like that. And I have written everything down. Yeah, I've had to, you know. And you know, my sponsor spoke to me like, this is what's going to happen. You know, we've done so much in such a small period of time. It would be a tragedy. Campaigns saving lives. And I never ever thought it would be. I just wanted to inspire some kids, you know, and just get them active. And it's just turned to the point where it's saving lives now. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'm going to give a foundation, charitable foundation. And what that will do is a number of things. One, it will give me the option and the help needed to continue the campaign, where I get 2 emails a day. You know, things like that takes 5 hours in that time during the day, and at 2 a.m. I'm still doing emails and I can't sleep. So becoming a charitable foundation helps to fundraise. It costs about £80,000 a year for me to do what I do. I spend about £2,500 a month just on fuel. Or fuel. You know, fuel and so I need to get some Morrison's. But yeah, £2,500 on fuel. Yeah, I travel the country and I can't say no as well, that's my issue. I can't say no. So if you've got a group of Down syndrome kids, young adults, in this group with 35 of them, they're like, listen, we want you to come and talk to us and, you know, get all the kids inspired. But we're going to need you for half an hour. I'm in London. I'm in the northwest. It takes me 4 hours to get there probably, you know, and driving, it wipes me out. Obviously, because I'm concentrating on the roads, I've just been able to drive again now. But I can drive 2 hours maximum. So obviously, I have to have a PA with me. It costs me money. I can stay over. It costs me money. So, you know, I can't drive there and back 8 hours. It'll just destroy me. So I have to stay over. But I can't say no just for half an hour. It could take a day and a half off my schedule. I can't say there's 30 kids there that really need motivating, and I'm happy to do it, you know. But the time frame and everything else and the financial cost of it, huge. It probably would cost for about £700 to actually to do that for half an hour. So becoming that foundation will give me the opportunity to raise funds that's that I needed, desperately needed this campaign, because I'm getting letters and letters from schools, we need you, and you know, letters from kids saying, you know, I'm cutting myself, I'm hurting myself. You know, it doesn't matter what reason, but you know, there isn't an out for me. You know, so I talk to them and give them an out, and then they this time around as well. So, foundation is probably the best way.
They actually be able to get a group of them together to help in your.
Yeah, well, I started my outreach, my community outreach, last week or the week before, and Brenda here volunteered, and she contacted me because I think it was through the website, wasn't it? Was it through Jimmy? Yeah, through Jimmy, and she heard what was going on, and started my community outreach. The schools are great. I'm booked up solid for 3 more years for schools, colleges, universities, and school clubs. Well, for me, it's not just about the schools, it's community as well. So, so I started a couple of weeks ago, and I invested in all the bands, all the national £7,000, and bands, inspired by succeed bands, which is my campaign motto. So I think that's really, really important. So I'm trying to get as many volunteers on board as well, because I can't do it by myself. I also can't afford to pay anyone. I do everything voluntary. I don't get paid for this. I do everything voluntary. And as I say, I got sponsorship for 4 weeks, and then I might say I got sponsorship for 6 months. But for 4 years, it is very, very difficult. So, so I do a lot, try to do a lot of fundraising, and I'm just going to page and all these things, as well as selling those bands and my community project. Once there any help from my volunteers, always welcomed, and appreciated. So, I'm going to put you on, try and get you into volunteering. No, but yeah. So hopefully, by the end of the year, a foundation, charitable foundation, that maybe I try and get athletes on board. Because athletes are positive role models and stuff. I don't know any other athlete that allows their gold medals to be worn by children. They drop, they ding. You're like, oh my goodness, it's so hard for that medal. But how do you inspire kids unless you personalize it, and you let them in to your life, and you talk about things very frankly and very open, but you also allow them to touch the green lantern. That Paralympic Lantern is just it's priceless. 10 May carried that original film. Oh, here you go. You're the second person in the world to hold it. And the child's like, oh my goodness, kind of thing, just don't drop it, But I don't know any other person that really does that. Yeah, lots of athletes and lots of people go into schools and talk, but it's not personalised. And it's more like some style, kind of history babies, maybe or something to I'm going to build her off. With me, it's going to that school and also going to the classrooms and talking to them as well. Yeah, to ask them questions. Because lots of kids ask lots of questions, crazy questions, that we can get normally. But adults go, oh my goodness. So, how do you go for a poo? Your teachers the teachers medalist here, you're asking me to talk about that's what kids are like. That's what kids are like. I mean, you talk to them about it, and the teachers are like, but that's kids for you. So that's inspiring them again, it's planting that little seed that they can go home, and if they hear the parents saying stuff, they can be accountable then to their kids. They can say, hang on a second, you shouldn't be saying that, because Adrian came to my assembly last week and said you should be calling this person a name or that person because of their colour or because of the sexual identity or whatever it is. You shouldn't be doing that. With going to adults is very difficult. It's a lot of certain ways anyway. But we can stamp it out in 10, 15 years' time by hitting the kids. Not physically hitting the kids and speaking to the kids and getting them inspired. And that's what my campaign is all about. Getting our kids inspired. So, anyone else would like to ask a question? I do both of them, sorry.
I have to say also on the back of the other questions, one of the most inspirational people I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
Regardless of the fantastic focus work that you do with children and stuff, I think everybody needs to hear the stories. It's just phenomenal, really. And,
it works because it's not personal.
yeah.
And that's the only reason why I can say it's not because I'm a great showmanship or I do this, it's just because it's personal. And I don't mind talking about that. A lot of people don't mind talking about their disability, or to the extent of what happened and what we have to deal with. And this is why this film's documentary, because people think, you just work a little bit and you get this medal and shine, you smile, and that's what you see. You don't understand what I have to go through.
When people, I suppose my question is, which is partially been answered by the last answer is, how can people help to get this message out to a greater audience?
Well, the biggest thing is, and it's always the case, is money. Biggest thing, it costs money to go to every school, because I don't charge whatsoever for my, for my outreach. I don't, because getting into the school is very hard. It's not easy. The way I go through, because a school doesn't want to say, yeah, we've got hate crime, yeah, we've got bullying in our school. They don't want to do that. They don't want to say that, even though we know every single school has some sort of bullying and maybe even some sort of hate crime. Every school does. So what I've done is I've had to go in through the sporting route first, and I'm lucky enough to have the plateau of being on TV and radio that I can actually get into the school. But what I also say is, well, I'm going to make your school really, make your school a real positive school, because you're now proactive in stamping out hate crime, stamping out stigma, and stamping out bullying in your school. So I've turned that negative into a positive of, yeah, we know what's going on, but just think now you're proactive. Inviting me into your school means you're proactive in stamping it out. Not that you have it and you're a really terrible school, because every school has it. But it's focusing once again on the positive of why am I in your school? Well, and this is, it's that reward system for them, I'll be on my website, and every school I visit is on my website, and so it highlights your proactive in stamping out stigma, stamping out hate crime, stamping out bullying. And, but I can't charge, because a lot of schools don't have the money to actually pay for me to go in and what it costs and things. So what I do is it's donations, really. Sponsorship, what sponsorship from some of my sponsors here. Got the Commissioner of Police, Johnny, give me £5,000. Great. That was great for the first 6 months, 4 weeks, 5 weeks or whatever. And same with all my charities is the fact that they contributed, because we didn't think it lasted. I didn't think it lasted a year, never mind. It was 4 weeks just to motivate the kids around my local area. And they need it, schools need it, and teachers need it. They're desperate for people to come to schools and to inspire the kids, because the people not just teachers, it's just a teacher. And I've heard that many times. I'm just a teacher. Kids are inspired by me. So it needs people to physically go in and talk to them, and personalise. You've got to personalise your story. And I'm very, very frank and very open regarding that. Not many people. I don't want people to know that I'm urinating blood every day, and my body's breaking down, and wearing sanitary towels on. I don't really want people to know that, but at the end of the day, it's true, and you've got to leave yourself out there, it's weird, because I'm actually getting bullied by trolls at the moment online, and they say, what does Adrian Derbyshire know about hate crime, and stuff like this, and it's all sorts of stuff, and that they're saying about me, and that started to really hurt my feelings. I was thinking, I've worked so hard, I got burgled, that destroyed me, but I turned it around and made that positive, and then become an ambassador for it. But these online trolls and online bullies and stuff, and if you're a 10-year-old kid or a 14-year-old girl, and it's relentless, I went to the Isle of Man and the hand cycle TT circuit, and I'll turn it off. But I got a letter from Michelle, and she's a parent on the Isle of Man, and the first 4 paragraphs of this letter were thank yous. Thank you, thank you. BBC were filming it, and ITV were filming my tour of the Isle of Man. And she heard about it through the BBC Isle of Man, and she wrote me a letter, thanking me, in terms of very emotional letter. And she said, thank you for taking time out to come to Emma. Thank you for dedicating time and doing this and educating kids. She said, because, my daughter Caitlin's 19, and I didn't know that she'd been bullied. She's been bullied for 5 years. She didn't even know, because Caitlin didn't tell her. And she was a runner, she did all these amazing things in sport and academically was amazing. But because she was quiet, because she couldn't fight for herself, she was bullied relentless. And this group, this group of 20 people put over 200 wall posts on Facebook. And some of the stuff on there was horrendous, it really, really was. And Caitlin's like, and the mum thought, teenager going through troubles, phases or whatever. What she didn't know was that bullying was that relentless that came in with all the stickers and stuff, medication, and self-harming, all these things. And she shouted Caitlin for breakfast, and Caitlin answered, and she said, well, she's going for college, you know, so she shouted again, nothing, went upstairs, and she opened the door, and Caitlin was hanging from the rafters, you know, blue, and she's 19, entire life ahead of her. But because of social media bullying, it was relentless, relentless. Couldn't be away from it. No matter where she hid, doesn't matter. No matter what she gave up, didn't matter. It was just relentless. And that's nothing special, unfortunately, but that's the game. Nothing special. And it's frightening. It really, really is. And I'm only now just understanding just how important this campaign is, because it's highly reported, you know, but it's also giving them the confidence to say that if you report it, something will happen, you know, and you know, so we're going to all the schools again and the police to make sure that happens. You know, because I'm dedicated most time to do it. I don't want it just to be fucked off. I'd be very angry, very upset if that's the case. But listen to what the police have to say. Listen to all these charities, and then we meet them for a big hate crime strategy for Cheshire every month. And we talk and have all sorts of organisations, charities, the police, you know, lots of them. And we talk about, right, okay, what we're doing to actually stand this out. What's the community engagement here? What's this? What's that? And I just decided, I think that was enough. I need to do more as an ambassador and a role model. And that's how this kind of gets started. I thought, I'm just going to do it and see how much support I get. And yeah, so biggest thing is funding. It's so difficult because you're fighting everyone else. Because I'm not a charity yet, very difficult to get funding. So I have to rely on my sports sponsors or my former sports sponsors who have belief in myself and know my story to actually bargain. You know, here's another £5 that will keep you for, you know, keep you for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, and but yeah, so it's very good. Anyone else like to ask a question before I give you a break? Yeah? Oh, no, thank you. I'm sorry to say that.
But when I'm sitting, I just see your face and your body, and I just see the picture of the health.
This is it. And you know, I have people, I've been out for dinner with friends, and I still want to go out and socialise when I can, very rarely now. But I've got my brother and things, and it's great to hang out with the guys because they're the guys. So, you know, when my brother says, a nice pair of boots in when you die out, because they've got tread still on them, because they can't walk, you know, these things like this. It makes you one of the boys, and I don't mind it, to feel human, you know, because a lot of people touch people up, you know. Talk over here, you know, I'm like, I'm here, you know, kind of thing, you know, it happens all the time, you know, but, and I always get, you know, from in my chair, and that someone always comes up to me and goes, get up, you lazy bugger, you know, what's going on, and it happens, you know, and especially when some people have had a few drinks as well, you know, and yeah, and to get up, you lazy bugger and stuff, you know, I'm confident enough now to just to, I don't let bother me, actually, you know, I say, well, you know, I wish I could have got only a couple of days to live, and I just really kind of put it on thing, and they go, oh no, I'm so sorry, you know, so it's that's not a good sense of humour, you know, but yes, yeah, but people, because I'm so fit, like, you know, my legs are covered in sore, pressure sores, you know, things, and my feet may be amputated in the next year or so, it's due to meningitis, and so physically what you see doesn't really show exactly what's going inside, you know, and smiling all the time, and you know, if you're doing appearances, you know, I feel it twice today already, and I know that I'm going to go at least 2-3 more times today, you know, after this, because it wears me down. But I'm alive, so I'm going to talk about it. This is the thing, I'm alive, the biggest thing, I'm alive. So if I can talk to as many people as possible, you know, get them inspired, you know, and then it's a good day for me. It's a good day because I'm alive, but also I've helped others to achieve maybe what they want to achieve. So, and saying I'm going to prove that it can happen. Anyone else before I'm going to give you all the break? I'm sure you're sick of people watching the line. Anyone else? Yeah?
Just changing the subject side, you
Oh,
said
thank
when you
would give you a diagnosis.
Yes.
Do it so suddenly, it wasn't even something that was sort of gradually brought
No.
on, you were so shocked and frightened and everything. Did you feel you were given enough psychological support
No.
from the hospital? And also not just you, but
No.
your family?
No. Absolutely given none whatsoever. No psychological support. It's funny because I enrolled in Liverpool Uni, and I thought, well, I can't do it, I might be in 3 years or whatever, but I wanted to, to do something because I wanted to help counsel others and support others because I was offering no psychological help whatsoever. It was, there's all the medication and good luck to you and whatever else, but no psychological support whatsoever. Bodying is the biggest thing for anyone. Never mind, myself, but to be so tall and into the asking for help all the time. And never mind the death looming and everything. There was no support from my family, no support from myself, and how to cope with this, how to handle this. So I went back to college, and I just finished now to do psychotherapy counselling and in the hypnosis side of it as well, which I've already completed. And that was just to give back. That was just to talk to people. That if you were going through this experience, that I can maybe shed some light to what happened anyway. A prime example is a couple. He was heavy diabetic and had a stroke. Paralysis on his left-hand side. They were married for 38 years, but within 6 months of him having his heart attack, he'd done a virgin divorce. 38 years to get him a virgin divorce. Because she's saying he's angry all the time, he's throwing stuff, he's, I feel like he's caring, he's a wife anymore, all of these major things. He was married for 38 years. And, I was talking to my partner, and we were together a year before I had my haemorrhage and then everything else. It's just like, wow, how did he survive? It was unbelievable. Because I went through the same thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm no saint. I get frustrated, I get angry sometimes still. I used to throw a lot of things. I broke no mobile phones, about 10 of them, just frustration of buttons. What's my number? Whose number it is? Who are the names? It's very, very frustrating because it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't connect anymore with the brain. And I can use my chair and go to the town centre and don't know where I am. Don't know who I am, I don't know where I live. It's happened a few times where the police have had to take me to hospital, and it just takes time for myself. So frustration and anger. Absolutely no counselling whatsoever. I'm on the verge of killing myself and depressed and anxious. And all I got from the hospital, my doctors were, wow, this is to be expected. So what are you going to do about it? Not if you'll live. What if we can put in this, for something in a year's time? Well, if you'll live, and that's what's the point. That's the reality of it. So it's going on and down, this diagnosis. You should bed then, you have someone else in it. We'll just let you go. Then you just, rot or whatever it is. It's the truth. No psychological support as well. So this is what I'm now doing, is counselling, just talk to people. Just, let them know how you feel, and say, I've been through that. But look where I've gone to. But that can also be a negative as well, because we go, oh, what you won all these gold medals or something, you and Lucinda are fantastic. Well, we just want to be like you. This couple said, we just want to be like you too, you're amazing together. And I started laughing, and Lucinda started laughing, you haven't got a clue, just see how much we argue and how frustrated and angry I still get. Because I'm like, why is this so unfair? But it's acceptance. Once it's acceptance that your life will change, it is changed, and you're on there and do the same again. It's not 6 years ago used to be the world changes. But I'll never ever get used to the world changes. I'll always fight to try and walk. I always fight, to be the best I can be. And that's just who I am. And it's something as well. So.
Adrian, it's very inspiring, thank you very much. But what's occurred to me is that to talk to somebody else similar to yourself, if you were to meet someone like Stephen Hawking in a lift, what did you say to him?
Wow, because I've been inspired myself. People often ask who inspires me, and I inspired by lots of people, lots of children, with disabilities who are fighting and doing sport. What would the mentor would you say to Stephen Hawkins? That's a really good question. I don't know really. Well, what can I say? He's the man of knowledge. Probably something really mundane, like what do you have for breakfast? Something like again, I asked him philosophy question, like universe. I was asking something really stupid. What's your favourite colour? No. Actually, I was actually probably say, what's your favourite band or something? What do you pop on to? But so many people inspired me. David Thompson, amazing. What his ethos was just fantastic, and I brought that on board as well. Something in my sport and that philosophy. But lots of people inspire me. So many excellent and amazing inspiration. People like the kids more than anything else. Kids who are battling, their disabilities, and they're doing everything else. The transplant games for kids. That's amazing. What they have to go through dialysis and whatever else, and then people have got a smile on their face. It's wonderful. Anyone else before we have a break? Yeah.
Where did your energy come from? What did your energy source?
Starbucks. Actually, that's a bit true as well. Actually, my energy. Well, once again, it's a blessing to be alive. It is. It's the basics. The basics. I'm alive, and that's what I have to just deal with every day. I wake up and go, wow. And it's kind of cliche as well, but it's the truth. Because everything's. I've been stripped bare to the bone, and listen, we don't know how long you've got. And so it's so cliche, it's the truth, it can just take it from me at any moment. And it's the scary part. And I go to bed now, okay. It's gonna happen. I worry about people finding me, doctors and everything, but we've had to have plans set in place and whatever. But once it happened, get it down. But hey, I'm alive, and it's just, that's it for me. I'm alive, and everything else is a bonus. That's what I see it. So it's nice to actually have some nice sun as well. You can chill out the sun. But yeah, I'm alive in the rain. I'll sit outside in the rain. Maybe I haven't slept today. So it's that mindset. But yeah, that's where I get my zest. That's what Starbucks means. Anyone else? Someone else?
So I see people who've been bullied as children and as adults. And what amazes me is how it's able to actually happen in these organisations. I've seen children who've been bullied in schools that have got really, really good Ofsted reports, but there, the head says there is no bullying in that school. You probably don't even get together and go to those schools because they have got a problem. There's organisations that should know better around their managers to bully, and to manipulate.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So it really is an organisational problem as well as a social problem.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And you mentioned the schools, and I actually have, because what I do is the flyers you have there, I send a flyer out, and I send an email out, and then, if I feel, it's a school that I've maybe been rumors about this time around, or I went to a school and watched out those riots 3 months ago, but schools, they're not meant to, you recognise, we have bullying, we have stigma, we have hate crime in our school. But it's that turning things around, making that negative into a positive. But, we're being proactive to stamp it out, not we have it, but we're being proactive to stamp it out. It's psychologically how you change that. But even in the workplace, I get lots of people in the workplace, who are saying to be bullied, and managers, my managers, and whatever else. And I say, well, what's the process of how do you report it? And some organisations are spot on, others are absolutely hopeless and really are bad. And that's when I say, look at the union, and ask them various questions about what is they have that's going to support from. Is there a trusted manager somewhere where you actually trust them that you actually do something? And we always find it is maybe out of the dozen, there's always one, maybe two, you know, who has that kind of support, you know, but the rest don't, and, you know, and that's when, hey, you need to take it further, you know, in the freaking award, you know, to action, you know, call to action, and that's what you need to do. But I always see, what other routes have you got regarding that? And spoke to them about this, because a lot of people, they put it in the workplace and take it home and go tell them, you know, and it's not. Well, the first thing you do, it must be my fault. You know, you've got same with me. You know, what's I done? Why is someone throwing McDonald's at me? I'm wearing something. What's going on? Your automatic system is yourself. You know, but it's changing that mindset. Say, hang on a second. It's not myself. It's this other person. But why? You know, and it's finding, it's talk office or talking to someone. First thing you have to do is talk to someone. You know, you have to. No, I mean, talk to someone in an organisation, but in a home as well, your partner. And don't isolate yourself, because that's what we do, we isolate ourselves. You know, to talk to your partner about it, you've already then got someone to support you. And maybe help to give you the confidence to maybe then look at the avenues in work and where you really go. It's very difficult. Some are big organisations. I work for two major telecommunications. And the bullying within them were unbelievable. It was unbelievable. From bottom to top, you know. And fortunately, both our unions, and I used to speak to the union about it, talk to them about it, you know, and they did. We were lucky to have a union, but it's not always the case. Very, very difficult. You know, you didn't have. It's difficult, isn't it? I think we've got to think about how we're going to take this further. You know, how we're going to take this further. It's a difficult decision to make. You know, what talking about, you've got to speak to your partner, you've got to speak to some family, a friend, confident, because a lot of people blame ourselves and we don't try to know. That's exactly what happened to me. I isolated myself, and that's a slippery slope into anxiety, depression. It's not, that's not healthy whatsoever. It's going down. Anyone else before we break? Yes?
Just wanted to pick up on what you said there. I work in a telecommunications call centre. Worked for about 2 years, and I was a deputy team leader, bullying teams. Actually just demoted because I was being bullied to bully other people. Now I've been bullied as a kid myself and can't stand bullies, very much like myself.
Yeah.
And I just refuse to do it. And that's the kind of environment I'm now happy to work in.
The environment of call centres, the environment of that, very high pressure, you know, it's scare tactics and things like this. And it's up there. It really, really is. And depending which company it is and the pressure you've done everywhere to, you know, answer those calls within a certain amount of time and you better get that call within a certain amount of time. You can't talk. No personalisation there, there's nothing. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's really, really difficult. It really is difficult. And I hear lots of stories, horrible stories. It's a shame. But the first thing I asked is, I just talk to someone about it. You know, not in the workplace, but home as well. It's so important. Communication. Something's happening, you communicate it. You have to, otherwise you're alone. And that's when you isolate yourself. And that's when relationships can falter and, you know, horrible things can happen in yourself.
I think fortunately, because I've been bullied in the past when I was at school, I've dealt with that, I've moved on, I think I'm now able to cope with it at work. I think that's one of the reasons why I just said to myself, no, Tom, I'm not bullying people coming. I mean, we've got sort of 16, 17-year-olds, and I'm being pressured to bully them. I'm sorry, but that's not going to be their first experience of work.
Well, it's as if, fortunately, for yourself, but it's fortunate and unfortunate because it looks negative on you, isn't it, to not bully someone.
Yeah, I can go find a job.
Exactly. Exactly. That's also the choice that we have, isn't it, as well. It's not easy just to say, all right, go find another job somewhere. It's sometimes not as easy as that.
No.
You know, but we were fortunate to do that. But just talk to someone. Anyone else before? Yes, sir.
Adrian, I picked up on your welcome.
first thing, thankful for, write down what it is you want to achieve in life. If you feel unfulfilled in some way, if there's something missing from your life, find out what it is. Have a think about it. And sometimes that can take minutes, an hour, a day. You know, you've got to figure out what it is, what's missing from your life. You know, before then, you can pursue it to the point where it then makes a massive difference in your life. And change. Is there anything in particular you're thinking about, or is it just in general of work, or?
It's of course sometimes come to the time. On the face of it, you think the type of work is no financial worries,
But it's choices as well. If he's making bad choices, he can also make good choices as well. It depends on what his mindset is and his mind frame is at the time. You know, I think, you know, as he communicated this with you, as he actually spoke to you about this. Yeah, well, that's the first thing, positive, isn't it? He actually spoke to someone about it. You know, I think you know this person obviously more than I do, but he needs to figure out what it is that he wants from life now, because he's retired. You know, he needs to figure out what he wants, what is it he wants to do, and how he's actually going to do it. You know, once again, I always go back to the financial board and the board to motivate you. You can put a timeline of, like, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks to do this goal. It's realistic expectations as well, realistic goals. And after that 2 weeks, okay, I'm going to do maybe a month now, I'm going to give myself a bigger goal. And after that month, you know, I'm going to give myself a bigger goal, and it's going to be 3 months. And if I haven't achieved that goal in 3 months, well, why? Preparation, could be lifestyle change, could be any reason why. All right, well, how am I failing that? Well, that's not really a failure. Turn that around into a positive. Okay, I'm giving myself another month to do it, because I realised that I didn't really take that track at first. You know, I went in another direction. But you know, it's realistic expectations that he wants, what he wants to do. But then the day, it's a choice. He chooses to do it, and he chooses to be successful at it, or he doesn't. You know, and you know, if he's making bad lifestyle choices, you know, he obviously is not in the right mindset and the mind frame to actually make good choices. Why is that? You know, is it just the opportunities that are easier? It could be a number of things, but he needs to strip himself bare and write everything down. What do I want to achieve? How am I going to achieve it? Well, you know, the first thing is, it's a choice of what you want to do. And, you know, he's got to start from basics, basically. He's got to start from the beginning. Like, this is what I want. It's a realistic expectation. I'm doing so 2 months to do it. And then build up and build up and build up until he's achieving what he wants to achieve. He's got to know what he wants to achieve. You know, he's got to know what he wants to achieve before he can do it. You know, and all the realistic expectations, you know, to actually achieve it. Because some of us, you know, I never thought I'd win medals. I just wanted to compete in sport. I never knew. I wasn't looking that far ahead. It was realistic expectation of picking up the soul and learning the fundamentals of how to do it. All right, I've learned the fundamentals of how to do it. What's next? Well, my training has to be the right way. My mindset has to be the right way. I then can look at maybe winning a medal. You know, it wasn't from this to I'm winning a medal. That's the point of realistic expectations of myself. And I put myself under a lot of pressure to do that. You also, you know, you fail and you just go, I'm not doing it anymore. You know, so, yeah, speak to him about realistic expectations and choice. A lot of choices. Alright, I hope that answers the question. Okay?
You inspire me.
Oh, no, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, thank you.
As many man said yesterday that he has got a realistic goal to be the Prime Minister of the fight.
Some people say that was realistic, and some people say they wouldn't say it. You know, I met Ed Miliband, I met them all.
Believe in that, yesterday he said that.
Belief is a huge thing. Believe in yourself. It's not as easy as what you think, but if you have true belief in yourself, you know, you obviously can. And it's fundamental, basic fundamentals of working up to that, and realistic expectations realistic goals. And once you've reached that realistic goal, then you add to it. Not too much, not too little, that's not challenging you, but you add enough where it's realistic for that time and it's time frame. So, yeah, I say Jim will can talk to you all about that stuff anyway. I'm going to see this done. But before I go, as I say, I've got some campaign response here. My motto is inspire, believe, succeed. And this is what I get that motto out of. Also, on the back of my jersey, it's not what you can't do, it's what you can. It's easy to say that, it's harder to do it, but it can be done. And as I talk to the kids about this, inspire. Not only inspire yourselves, but inspire others by your actions. Believe in yourself, and you will achieve. It's 1, 2, 3. It can be done. And so I have bands here. If anyone would like to purchase one, 50, I get 50 people per band, which helps us campaigns, so we appreciate it. And if anyone would like to volunteer, or if you have a sleep on it, and if you decide to contact me, please feel free. The website's there, and if you just want to ask a question, or anyone want to email me and stuff, and I'll be happy to help. But thanks so much for having me. Thank you to Jim as well. I appreciate it, mate. And thanks for seeing us.